Hey, I'm watching Dark Journalist on the 6th of September, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2025. And I come across a piece of information I've never heard before historically. Apparently, during the Civil War in the 1860s, um, President Lincoln was funding the development of airships. Now, I had already heard of the Sonora Aero Club. But this particular airship, there's an article in the Sacramento, whatever the paper is, it's not saying here, but it's got a hand sketch, a drawing of an airship that I would call a Vimana, which comes out of Hindu literature as a spun mercury-based EM gravitic craft that requires additional propulsion in the form of propellers to actually move. In other words, the EM gravitic simply provides lift, anti-gravitic lift, and then the propellers actually cause it to move through space. Now, of course, we don't hear much about any UFOs that are using external propellers, but given the fact that the possibility exists that Thomas Townsend Brown, was anticipated decades earlier than the late 1910s, with the ability to create anti-gravitic craft. In this case, his was based on dielectrics and capacitors at high voltage levels. In this case, you had a cylinder of spun mercury that then shot out free electrons that created an electromagnetic field, which supposedly bounces away gravitons, rendering a craft massless in terms of its gravitational attraction. Now, we know that Bob Lazar talks about similar kinds of approaches, possibly either capacitive EM gravitics or possibly the use of high-density stable atoms, I call gravitonium, which has been synthesized last briefly, not as gravitonium, by the Russians in the form of an isotope of element. Forgetting the name of the element. Anyway, so the idea here is that I had never heard of any kind of craft that had been developed by Lincoln's government based on American fiat currency at the time. And subsequently, the technology was lost to us or suppressed by the activities of Secretary of War. Anyway, so I thought I would capture this for future reference. I may publish it as part of our UFO playlist, where I explore the possibility that maybe weird stuff is flying around in our skies, and some of which may very well be crypto-terrestrial, and a subclass of that crypto-terrestrial craft class would be ancient, perhaps Atlanteans, based on readings I've done in terms of a dweller on two planets by a fellow by the name of Oliver in the 1880s, and hearing some of Bosley's discussions of the Sonora Aero Club, as well as Dark Journalist and Joseph Farrell talking about craft that may have been developed herein, for instance, or by the Nazis in World War II, although they may never have been perfected. None of these craft may actually exist. They may be, if they do, they may be extraterrestrial, crypto-terrestrial. They may be transdimensional. They may be seriously nuts and bolts, homegrown craft that have been documented potentially tens of thousands of years ago in Atlantis, and also documented in Sanskrit literature. So I thought I'd add this. Maybe I'll post it up. Maybe I won't. Be interesting to be able to read a little bit of the article. But the thing that caught my attention was 1A, I had never heard of craft outside of the Sonora Aero Club being developed, and B, this thing has propellers on it, which suggests that it's based on the Sanskrit model of a Vimana. There you go.